Hello and welcome. My name is Audrin. This is my settings guide. We're going to go through some settings here that I think will really help everyone out. So let's just get into it. When we go to the settings here, we'll start with basic game settings. The first one that we're going to look at is the compass orientation. The default is rotate. If you're like me, the compass confuses me when it spins around and turns, so I make it always point north. Another thing that you can do is damage display for allies. I have it set to off. The default is on. The only reason is because I like seeing my own numbers. I don't necessarily want to see the numbers of my allies if I'm doing some co-op. So I turned that off so it just doesn't spam the screen with all these numbers everywhere. If you want HP and key numbers on, you can turn on the display values for life. So display values on the life gauge, display values on the key gauge on the next page, Spirit Force, Amrita, and Guardian Spirit values. So if you want those numbers there so you can easily track how much of each resource you have, you can do that, but that's user preference. I actually have display Amrita and gold on always display. The default is, I believe, display when level up is possible or display when changed. Again, user preference, maybe depending on your monitor, if you don't want that burn in, if you have a very nice monitor. I don't have a really good monitor, so I just use always display so I can always keep track of how much gold I have and, the most important, how much Amrita I have so I know when to level up. However, this is a good option. Always display when level up is possible. The Amrita numbers on the bottom right of your screen will turn into a gold color or yellowish color, so then you'll know that it's time to level up. On the next page, I have skip cutscenes. I put it to skip already seen dialogue. I think the default is off. So I make this so that if I do encounter the same cutscene again, I don't have to watch it again. Same with Amrita Memories. I believe it's every time it's on. I can't remember, to be honest. It was last week. So I make sure to keep it on only when first encountered, so I only have to watch them once. This one is the most important, so we're going to skip 2 pages. So it's the second last page in basic game settings. It's item auto pickup. So the default is off. So when you start the game, you'll notice when there are items on the floor, you have to press R1 to pick up each and every item, and you got to do it one by one by one by one by one. So you're spamming the R1 button. I turn it so it's item auto pickup. It just picks everything up automatically by itself. I just have to run over it. Sometimes it'll miss and it won't pick up 1 or 2 items if I'm not too close or I'm not in proximity. So I just, turn around and run over again. I don't have to press R1 though, and my character just picks up all of the items. With that said, if we go to the next screen, we have this, automatically dispose of excess equipment. Now, to be honest, I don't remember in the beginning if we were able to disassemble. I don't think we were because we didn't unlock the hub until after the Crucible. I guess on release, we'll find out if the hub is unlocked right at the beginning of the game or if it's still after the Crucible. Anyways, if you do have this option, my recommendation is to put disassemble. So it automatically disassembles excess equipment, but that's only after, let's say, level 5 or level 10. So at the beginning of the game, I would keep it off because you're gathering all of these new weapons and items and armor and all that stuff. You don't want to be getting rid of them because you can use them, especially at the beginning. But after a bit, when you start getting more powerful equipment, you'll turn it to disassemble would be my recommendation. You could also sell it to get extra gold. You could also make an offering, and that's something that you can do at the shrine, but disassemble is the way to go because you are going to need many, 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 many materials in this game to upgrade and craft gear, but also to remodel your weapons, which is a huge one. So I have a different guide about stats and all that I can link up here in the corner. And soon after release, I'll have a whole blacksmith guide. So I'll link that as well when the time comes. Anyways, when you do automatically dispose, so you have this, you can have simplified notifications or list. Now I have mine as list. What it does is every time I go to my shrine, actually I could just show you right now. When I go to the shrine, I get this list to pop up and it asks me if I want to disassemble. So right now it says obtainable materials lacquer. So right now I don't have anything that's going to be auto disassembled. It's just showing the items on whatever I'm selecting. So I can disassemble the rogue's helmet or the longbow, and I'm getting the lacquer or the wood and what have you. That brings up the next point, which is, let's go back to basic game settings. We're going to go to the last page. So you can choose what rarity you want to dispose. So I have it set to only common for right now. And that is, let's go through the options. So only common is the white gear. Uncommon is yellow tier gear. Blue is rare. Purple is exotic. And then we have the all setting here. So you can dispose everything. And I wouldn't suggest you do that because it just gets rid of everything other than what you have equipped. So I set it to only common because those white tiered weapons and armors, I don't use them anymore because I'm getting a lot of yellow, blues, and purples. Pretty soon, actually, after release, we're going to check. We're going to see what actually drops. I may change it to uncommon or below, which is just yellows and below. Actually, I kind of want to do this now because I am getting a lot of blues and purples where I am in the demo, which is I beat the demo and now I'm just playing to learn more things and trying to get +1 weapons and all that. So I would set this to uncommon, but I'm over level 50. At the beginning, maybe you want to make it only common, so it just disposes of those items. So actually, let's do yellow and let's see what happens. So if I go to the shrine now, I should have more things pop up to be disposed. Look at that. So look at all these obtainable materials I have. There's lots of them on the right there. So I'm just going to press X to disassemble all. I'm going to select yes. So it says, oh, it says uncommon 267. So I'm going to disassemble all of that. It's going to ask me again. I can also change the option to say do not ask again, but let's do it again. And now I received all of these items and it's done. And I don't have any yellow armor or weapons in my inventory. You can see my inventory. I still have 1,000, over 1,000 pieces out of 2,000. So I may actually disassemble all the blues too because I do have lots of purples. But we'll get into that later. If you change the auto disposal notification to simplified notifications, when you go to the shrine, it just automatically disposes of your items or disassembles your items. In my case, you'll see a little note at the top left there. All gear has been disassembled and it's done. There's no menu pop-up. You don't need to select anything and it's very fast. Okay, another really important setting that you're going to want to choose is in the camera settings. So let's go over there. We're going to flip over one screen. It's this, camera distance. I set mine to 10. What it does is it pulls the camera further away from your character. So let's see the difference. Let's make it 0. And we'll see... I'm kind of in a tight spot here, but we'll see, like, my character's there. It's not bad, right? This is the default. Okay. But let's change it to be the furthest away. So we'll set it to 10. And we will see immediately, look at that. Look at how much more I can see around my character. So I set my camera distance to 10 so I can see more of the screen. I can see when enemies are sneaking around and popping up behind me and that kind of thing more easily. So I definitely recommend you change that as well. Obviously, if you get into a tight space like this, the camera is not going to go through the wall. So, the camera distance is shorter, but yeah, change that setting 100%. Okay. The last settings that we're going to talk about are controller settings. Now, this is a huge one. So, first of all, the default, let's make it the default, is Type A. And Style Shift and Burst Break, you're actually able to choose this right at the beginning of the game. But if you didn't want to mess with it and you chose off, then it will stay off. So what it does is if you're using certain weapon skills, actually, let's go into the skills. There will be directional inputs. So we see this skill plummet. The command at the bottom right, it says press forward on the thumbstick and press triangle. Now that's not ideal because, like, I can do it, not so difficult, right? But it's kind of annoying to use the thumbstick. I'm trying to run around, everything's going crazy, and I gotta let go of the thumbstick and then press forward again. Forget it. So one of the control settings that I have used, I'm actually using Type B. So let me just show you the difference between A and B. Now, instead of having to press forward for that skill, I have to hold L1, which is the block button, and then press square. So I don't have to do anything with the forward momentum of the stick. I just jump, hold L1, and press square, and I do the same move. It's much easier. When you have skills like in the samurai tree, let's put on one of these main swords. One of the skills that everybody's going nuts about, which is an awesome skill, is the severing spin. Now the default is you have to, let me change my settings here so we can see. We'll go back to Type A. In order to do severing spin, in order to do severing spin, you need to hold down and press triangle. Okay, so if I'm not if I'm just here and I press down and triangle, nothing happens. Why? I'm not even doing the skill. Because what it doesn't say is you have to be locked on to an enemy in order to do that skill. If you're not locked on, pressing down will just turn your character around. So it doesn't register that down input as part of the skill. So if we go change my settings back to B, now it's L1 and triangle. So now I can do the skill anytime. I don't have to face any certain direction. I don't have to look back or forward or whatever. Just hold L1, press triangle, and the skill comes out. Easy peasy. So let's look at some other options here in the controls. So it depends what you want. So the default is great. I mean, I played more than half of the demo using default until I found out, oh, I can change the different schemes and whatever. But let's go through some of the options. So we'll come back to type B in a minute. A lot of people online have been saying that they really like type E or type F. So the difference between E and F is just where the dodge and the jump button are. So I prefer type E because I like dodge on circle. Most Souls-likes and Souls games use circle as their dodge. What it does is it enables that L1 pressing so that you don't have to do that up, down, left, right, whatever inputs. But also, it changes your style switch. So if I press R2, nothing happens, right? What you have to do to parry, what you have to do to style switch is hold R2 and then press X. And I mean, it's okay. It's not bad when you get used to it. To parry those red attacks, so when there's a red attack, you can parry them using style switch. You can just press circle and you don't change your stance. We see I'm still in Samurai. So I'm pressing R2 and circle, which is great. This is a great addition, so I don't have to change stance every time that I want to parry a red attack and it gets all confusing. However, for me, I don't like doing that because I want to just press one button when I parry or style switch. It's too much, I guess, for my old brain to follow. So that's why I like type B. So type B takes that L1 whatever triangle thing, but also style switch still stays at R2. Now in this controller scheme, you have to change your style from ninja to samurai every time you want to parry a red attack. But there is a solution. We go back to the controls. It's this that I was talking about right at the beginning, style switch and burst break. If you turn it on, when you tap R2, you do the parry. So you can parry those red attacks just by tapping R2, which is exactly what I think most of us want. If you want a style switch, you just hold R2. And the holding isn't really that long. So I'll say exactly when I press. Like it's pretty fast. I'm just holding it down. Whereas if I tap, I just do the parry. Okay? So that's a very good option for that, and then which is why I use type B. But there's more to the controls than just that. If we go back to controls, when we go to configure controls, you can see at the top here, it says you can fine tune controls further with X. So if you want to change the buttons to whatever you want, you can do that. I don't like messing with it because then I get too confused. But the second one is the important one. Set controls for dashing, special actions, and more with square. So to sprint, you have to press the L3 button, which is great. You press the left thumbstick down and you sprint, and it just continues. It doesn't end. However, there is actually a slide. You can't slide using the left thumbstick, right? Even if I press circle, which is the dodge button, he just does a little dash. He doesn't slide. So it's kind of like a hidden movement here. So go back to controls. We're on type B. I'm going to press square. And now we have the dash button settings. You can press L3 to run, or the other option is hold circle while running. If you are a FromSoft Souls player, you'll know, and a lot of other games do this too, you'll know that you have to hold the circle button to sprint. So you're pretty used to it. I mean, let's see what it looks like. Oh, and then you can, once you change something in here, you have to make it a custom loadout. So we're going to make it custom 2. Okay, so now I've got custom 1 and custom 2. Actually, custom 1 is the exact same thing. But so now to sprint, if I press L3, it's the crouch. Now I remember in one of my Let's Plays, I was running around sprinting and I'm like, oh, there's an enemy. Let me crouch behind so I can assassinate them from behind, but it wouldn't work because I had to stop moving, then press L3, then walk. And it's just so clunky that way. This way, I can press L3 whenever I want. And look, I'm holding circle to sprint. When you do this super sprint that you unlock when you get to the hub, you can let go. I'm not pressing the circle button right now. But if you're in the middle of a dungeon, you have to hold the button, the circle to sprint. And unfortunately, when you let go, they stop running. But it does enable you now. So if I press L3, I do a slide. Look at that. And there are slide moves too. There are moves you can do out of a slide. So I really recommend going into controls. First of all, choose which one of these you like. So me, personally, I like B. Press square and then change this to hold circle while dash. Now you could also change the menu buttons. So if you want to press the touchpad for map, leave it as default. But if you'd rather press the touchpad for menu, which I think was in Nioh 1, maybe Nioh 2 as well, I can't remember exactly, but you can switch those. The other thing is the living artifact button settings. You can make it God of War style, where you press L3 and R3 to do your living artifact. But I just leave it as square and circle because it's not really that big of a deal. So yeah. Those are a bunch of settings that I think that you should change right away. It'll help you with your gameplay. Please let me know in the comments if this video helped you. And also let me know if there are any other settings that I missed that you want others to know. And also please consider subscribing to see more of my Nioh 3 content. I'm going to have way more coming out soon after release because I am still playing the demo. Can't wait for Friday. Anyway, that's it from me. Take care.